Maybe there is such thing as too many hats. Hey folks, it's Mary, aka MercyTriumphs, and this is my channel Slow Crochet. This is episode 040, and today I want to talk about thinning out some of my hats. Yes, it is finally hat season and I keep wanting to make more, so I thought now would be a good opportunity to look at what I have and to take some off of my shelves and maybe to talk about some of them. Some of the ones that I have selected to remove from my shelf are going to go into the communal family pile. So these are going to be ones that will be easy to wear for anyone in the family and will keep us nice and warm and maybe even hyper visible on the playground or when we're out and about. I am selecting a few to donate just because every once in a while it's nice to go through what we do have, think about the things that are bringing us the most joy, and pass on the things that could bring someone else joy. So let me get started with that right now. Shelf is looking really sad all of a sudden, but that's okay. We'll fill it in soon enough. And even if not, it's nice to give everything a bit of space to breathe. All right, so the hats that I've selected kind of fall into two main categories, and oddly enough, I predominantly used 2, maybe 3 yarns at the most for all of them. There's one set that I used using Chic Sheep by Red Heart and Marley Bird, and these are hats where I picked up maybe 3 skeins of each of these 2 colors a while back, and I've just been working different hats ever since, just trying out some patterns. These are the ones that are going to be donated into the family stash because some of them I think will even fit a husband head, and I think others will just be fun to pull from when you need to keep your head warm as it cools down. But I'm going to start with a slightly smaller category, and that's the hats that I've decided to donate. And how this worked out is kind of a mathematical equation if you think about it. I used 2 different yarns, 2 different patterns, and you'll see how they turned out. The first pattern that is on the chopping block, or maybe a better phrase, is on the donate pile, is my Phannie beret. And this is actually the beret that at the time of filming you see in my profile picture here on YouTube. I love this beret. It is super sweet. And it was one of the first berets that I made. It is made of Premier Wool Select, which is a DK weight yarn, and it is in the color Brick. I have loved having this beret, I love wearing it. It's very straightforward. I love the ribbing on it, but I have other berets that I have made since, and so this one is one that I will put on the donate pile. This yarn is 25% wool and 75% acrylic, and I'll make sure to have the care instructions attached when I go to donate this. Out of the same yarn in the same color is another really straightforward but very effective hat. This is the Knit Look Ribbed Hat by Amy Depew. And I did this in a DK weight, exactly the same yarn as before. I like this hat because it's not too fussy. It does what it says on the label. It's just a great little ribbed hat. And I think someone else will probably enjoy it as much as I have. It's worked from the top down, and then it's just a bunch of front and back post double crochets all the way around. So same yarn, 2 hats, 2 different patterns, and now we have same pattern, but a different yarn. This is the same exact Knit Look ribbed hat, but it's made out of a worsted weight yarn. This is what I call a mystery acrylic. I had a friend that was getting rid of some yarn, and this was such a fun color that I wanted to make a ribbed hat out of it. And as I have it on now, I'm like, do I really need to let this one go? Yes, I do, because I have plenty of green hats, plenty of green yarn, things that I want to do. So this one, again, this will be a little bit easier care. Nice and toasty, love the ribbing there. Again, very straightforward pattern, and someone else will enjoy it, I am sure. Now to the ones that are just going to come off of my shelf, and the rest of the family will have more access to them. I am going to start with the Crochet Seafarer's Cap by Beth Hall. This thing is a chunk. This I definitely made it bigger than called for in the pattern, but I wanted to make sure that my children with enormous heads would have some space for it to breathe. This is that 100% wool chic sheep yarn by Red Heart coupled with Marley Bird, and this is the color Sunset, I do believe. I love this pattern because it did make such a warm and toasty hat, and that brim that's folded up really does kind of double as an ear warmer. This is worked from side to side, so you start out with a starting chain and then go side to side, and then you end up seaming it around, and you have some short rows at the top. You have a bunch of slip stitches for the ribbing. So this one I think is going to be great. It's really a quite soft wool as well. I don't think it's superwash, but I think it might be merino. I think this will be one that is great for warm heads, fluffy hair, even fluffy hairstyles. I can imagine putting like a messy bun up there and still being able to keep the look of that and then popping it off your head and still having that messy bun. Or it's great for more of a slouchy style if you're into that. But that's that one. Another one that I have made in the past is the forest green hat. And this one is by Tatyana Yatsunov. I'm looking at my notes over here. This is that same yarn, but in the color pool side. And it is another hat that's worked from side to side with short rows. This one is a little bit trimmer of a fit. This will fit kind of smaller heads. And you can see the seam right there where I seamed it up on the inside. Doesn't have as many short rows, doesn't have a separate brim, it's just a little bit longer. And you end up creating some wedges at the top. As you go, you skip some stitches and then work into them as your rows progress, if that makes sense. This is a pattern that I hope to make again. It is a little bit more labor intensive than your straightforward top down or even bottom up hat, but I loved making it, I loved how it turned out, and it'll be a great one to reach for on those cold days. The last two I have shown you on this channel. One of them is the Elm Slouch hat, which I modified off of a Toni Lipsey pattern out of her Tunisian crochet handbook. This is my first foray into Tunisian crochet, and even though the seaming has improved some since the very first time I showed it off, it's still just straightforward hat. I think it will get the job done. I do like how it looks just if you don't think about that seam there. And again, easy one to reach for. It will work for a boy or a girl, great in the family. The last one is one I finished fairly recently. It is my granny stitch hat, and it's by Yarnspirations. This popped up more recently in some of my works in progress videos. And I'll put a link at the end to a video that gives more detail about this particular hat. So these are the four that are just going to hang out with access to the family. I like that they all speak to each other, they're all equally cushy, and they're slightly different sizes. The folks in the family can choose one that will work for them. I'll have to rearrange over here now, make it a little bit neater. I do have other hats that I want to add to that collection, so you'll see it grow and contract again over time. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. All of the pattern links are all free patterns. They will be in the description box below. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, who comments, who hangs out with me, and who supports this channel. I really appreciate y'all with your likes and your shares and all that kind of stuff. Not necessary, but I sure do love seeing how this channel is growing, and I love connecting with you guys. That's really the big part. Y'all are amazing. I really do enjoy spending time with y'all, getting to know y'all, and interacting with you in the comments. So, question for you, is there such a thing as too many hats? And what do you do when you find yourself with more crochet objects than you had intended? If I'm not your cup of tea, thank you so much for listening this long. I do appreciate it, and I do hope that I'll see you again soon. Bye!